My name is Søren Østergaard Jensen. I'm from the Danish Technological Institute, and I'm here to present a proposal for a new annex with the working title Energy Flexible and Smart Grid / Energy Ready Buildings. Let me just put it on. But before starting the presentation of the new annex, I've been asked to briefly guide you through the procedure for creating an EPC project or an EPC annex. So from idea to annex, it starts, of course, with you have an idea of what you will work on and you would like to do it internationally. So you have to see if it is in the focus area of the EPC, and you can find the strategy plan in this on this link, and then the lead person should contact her or his national representative, the ESCO member, and you can find who is who in this link. And if your ESCO member is in favor of your proposal, you submit a 4-page fixed format with a concept proposal that you will present at the next EXCO meeting. If agreed by the EXCO, the lead person will then hold an international workshop to develop a full annex proposal and annex text, and that's about 4 pages in a fixed format. And if this full text, annex text is approved, then it will become an annex, and it will have an annex number. And you, of course, will need to assign a leader, which is called an operating agent. And typically, an annex will last for 3 to 5 years, and that's include a preparation phase, normally 1 year, where the participants try to obtain funding, because each participant have to carry own funding into the annex. And then there is a working phase and, of course, a final reporting phase. That's very, very brief how an annex is developed. And yeah, you can read more on the website of EPC. So, energy flexible and smart grid energy ready buildings. Well, at the last EXCO meeting in November last year, the EXCO agreed that we could have a workshop to propose for the proposed annex. And that will be held here in Copenhagen in March next month, 5th to 6th. And if you are interested in the workshop or just interested in the annex, please contact me on this email address, and you will get further information. Well, the background for the annex. Well, I'm taking an example that I know very well. That's a Danish example. The goal of the Danish energy system is that by 2035, all electricity and heating of building will be based on only renewable energy. And by 2050, all energy will be from renewable energy. 2050 is because it takes some more time to get the transportation area included also. So renewable energy is many things, but in Denmark it will mainly be wind energy. We don't have that much sunshine in Denmark, especially not in the winter. And biomass, that's a scarce resources that can be used for other things, and geothermal, we don't really have that much of that. So it will mainly be wind in Denmark. Here you see a snapshot of the situation in the western part of Denmark in 2008. You see here the electricity demand, and here the wind production. And if we extrapolate that to 2020, where we believe to have half of the annual wind demand coming from electricity demand coming from wind, you can see that we will have some difficulties, because sometimes there will be more electricity than needed, and also many times less than needed. And even if we go for 100% wind, then we'll still have some areas here where there is no wind electricity when needed. So, in Denmark, well, much of this fluctuation may be solved at the transmission level, but also the distributed grid have to participate in solving the problems. And part of the Danish electricity policy is that 70% of heating should be district heating, and that's not that tough a goal because today it's already about 60%. And the good thing about district heating is that you can use whatever energy sources you have. And electricity will be one of them via large heat pumps. 30% is foreseen to be individual or smaller heat pumps, and that will mainly be the red dots here in this map showing part of Denmark. The red dots is oil-fired boilers. The green part is district heating, while the yellow part are natural gas. And for the transportation, a lot of electrical vehicles are foreseen. So, a transition from other energy carriers to electricity is needed in the Danish energy system. But how will that affect the distributed grids? Because buildings are normally not situated at the transmission level, it's situated at the low voltage level, at local feeders. In Denmark, it's 400 watt voltage feeders. And here you see one example of such a feeder. Here you see the power demand over the day, and here you see the max allowed load. And you can see that this there's a lot of space for more demand. Here in Denmark, that's a peak we call the cooking peak. That's when we come home from work and start cooking and switching on lighting and TV and so on. But you can see there is no problem here because there is a distance up to the max allowed load. But if we put in heat pumps for all these buildings and 40% EVs, then in this example we will have a blackout. We will have a demand that is much bigger than the max allowed load. So how do we go about that? Well, of course, we can just take this green line and move it upwards, which correspond to reinforce the grid, putting more copper in the grid. But another way is to make a smart grid. So we know there's a peak here, so we start to heat the buildings before the peak, so that, but still within the comfort band, so that we can have free floating during the cooking peak. And then afterwards, we need some reheating of the buildings. And then the EVs we have to charge smartly, so we never get about the max allowed load. So this is flexibility here. It's a flexibility we need. So the possible solution is that we need to have a transition from generation on demand, as we have today, to consumption on demand. And that's what often is called smart grid, or if you include other energy carriers, that electricity smart energy. So, and it's believed that energy flexibility of buildings will be an important part of this transition in order that we can do this here, move demand from the peak load to other periods where there is less demand for electricity. And this is what the new annex is about. So the aim of the proposed annex is to increase knowledge in the identify critical aspects and possible solutions concerning the flexibility that buildings can provide and the means to control this flexibility. So the objectives of the proposed annex will be to investigate and develop definitions of flexibility, the possible flexibility, how to enhance flexibility and how to control the flexibility, what is the cost and benefits of flexibility of buildings, and of course comfort and user acceptance of utilizing flexibility, because if it gets too cold in the buildings in order to support the grid, well, users will not be that keen on participating. Finally, we would like to characterize flexibility, make some maybe key values in order to characterize flexibility so it's much more easy to handle, and labeling propose some kind of labeling of flexibility of buildings. This you don't have to read, but most buildings have flexibility in themselves already, because they have some thermal mass, and if we use the comfort band, maybe plus minus 1 degree around the temperature the user wants, then we actually can move a lot of energy. And depending, of course, of the use of the building, heat loss and internal gain and so on, the actual climate, well, we can maybe delay heating for 1 hour to up to several days. Several days is for low energy building with a lot of mass. And this we can do without too much effort. And we can not only deliver peak shaping, but also ancillary power, for instance, frequency and voltage control. And further, most buildings have some kind of water storage, for instance, a domestic hot water tank, that may further enhance the flexibility of the building. But we need to control this flexibility. And here you don't have to read it again, but from the top it's very simple, where devices are simply not allowed to run during prefix peak hours, down to very optimized control using forecast that really optimize both on energy use and economy and so on. And going from top to bottom, we increase the flexibility, but so do the price of the control. So we have to find an optimized level for different buildings. The proposed structure of the new annex is 3 subtasks. One where we investigate the possible and accessible storage capacity in buildings. One subtask where we investigate and develop control of flexibility in buildings. And the last one to test that actually what we have discovered in subtask 1 actually is true, and also give some guidance on how we could label smart grid readiness or flexibility. The process of this annex is, well, the EPC EXCO approved a definition workshop, which we will have next month in Copenhagen, in March 5 to 6. Then we will submit a full annex proposal or a full annex text for the June EXCO meeting, and hopefully the EXCO will approve. And then we will have a preparation phase of 1 year where we try to get funding, each of us. And then the real working phase will start after approval by the EXCO in June 2015. And the duration, including the preparation phase, is proposed to be 5 years, because we will do some measurements and testing, and that takes some time to get that up running. So we need to, it cannot be a very short annex. So thank you very much for your attention. And just to clarify, when I speak about flexible grid, I don't mean this. Thank you very much.